the final edition of our SFS. We just want to give a few more minutes before we start. We are still getting our participants in. So. Mishka, I think we can start. We are 4 minutes in. We have a good population.
So I'll play the video.
Is to fly over the rainbow so high. My dream is to fly over the rainbow so high.
So thank you everyone for joining today. I'm Anushka Podar from the Solve for Society 2023 team, and I'll be hosting today's session. So firstly, we would like to thank Amazon Future Engineers for making this the Solve for Society edition possible. Since it's a large Zoom meeting, to maintain decorum, we've muted all the participants, and we will be enabling the chat periodically for any questions that you might have. Solve for Society is an exciting opportunity for students to show their innovation and problem-solving skills. The Innovation Challenge was designed to give students like us a chance to identify and solve real-world problems. We hope that this journey of 1.5 months, you will constructively work in teams and develop unique ideas. The SFS 2023 team would like to support you with technical guidance to help you achieve your potential. We really hope that you've been able to learn from the last 2 workshops, and now you have identified the problem and have started working on your solution. Today's workshop will tell you how to ensure that your solution is robust and well designed, and hope you find it useful. At the end of today's session, we'll be telling you about the details of the phase 1 submissions and how you can submit your team video and ideation document application on our website, so please stick around. Your last date of submission will be 15th August, after which the application portal will close. Then on 20th August, we will have the phase 1 results, and commence with phase 2. So if you have any questions, you can always contact us on our email ID. And don't worry, the meeting will be recorded and uploaded on YouTube for your reference later. So this year we've chosen assistive technology as our theme, as you may know, and we're glad to be supported by Assistive Foundation as our knowledge partner. So today we have two very important speakers with us. You may already know Dr. Curtin from our last workshop, and we have Dr. Clara Bush with us today. She's an assistant professor of agricultural leadership education in the Department of Agricultural Education and Communication at the University of Florida. We're so glad that both of you are able to join us today and look forward to hearing your insights. So it's over to you now.
I am actually looking for Sarah. I think she might have been accidentally kicked
Yeah,
off. I
actually,
think we should
because
wait
of
a
some,
moment.
yeah, because of some network, I think she got disconnected. Sarah, can you hear us?
I can, but oh, there it is. Okay, we're good.
Anusha, you can just repeat the last few.
Oh yeah, of course. So today, obviously, we have two very important speakers with us. You may already know Dr. Curtis from last workshop, and we also have Dr. Sarah. So we're so glad that both of you are able to join us today, and we look forward to hearing your insights. So it's over to you now.
Great. Well, thank you. So we are going to do a little bit of a rundown. That's a little bit of a review of some of the things that were talked about last week, just as a reminder. And then we'll move forward a little further into the problem generators or the solution. So let me go ahead and share my screen here so we can get started. Okay, we all see that? Great.
Yes, we can.
So, yeah. So we're excited to talk to you guys a little bit about what your problem solving style is and why it's important. And then when you really are ensuring that you have the right solution to things, how does this problem solving style come into effect with that? And how does working with other people impact that? So today, a big portion of this discussion will be centralized around different problem solving styles, how Curtin's adaptation-innovation theory can help us understand that. And then on top of that, how we can then utilize understanding styles to generate better solutions and to work collaboratively with others to generate solutions. So this idea of what is the right solution is kind of based on what we know is truth. And our problem solving style or our thinking style indicates what we see as the truth. So when we look at this kind of image that's on the screen, we can see that a cylinder in the center of the room projects two different shadows on the wall. People or individuals who are standing on different sides of the cylinder would believe different things to be true about the cylinder. Someone that was standing on the right-hand side would think that it was a square from the angle in which they were looking. Someone on the left-hand side would think it's a circle. Both of these individuals would be right in the shadows in which they're seeing, but individually incorrect about the truth of what's in the center. That's because they can't see both pieces or both sides. Working together, they could have this discussion and figure out that this was a cylinder. That's kind of what problem-solving style looks like when we talk about it. Because we all approach problems differently, we all see different truths. And when we work collaboratively together with those that see truths differently than us, we are able to find a better solution in the center. Part of this is based on this idea of how much structure you like. How much structure you like often dictates the idea of what our problem-solving style is. Problem-solving style is based on the bell curve in which we see and a continuum that is shown on the bottom. Highly structured individuals tend to be more adaptive in nature, and those individuals tend to fall on the left-hand side. On our right-hand side, they prefer less structure. That looks like things, they prefer less structure, which makes them a little more innovative. So what does this look like? It looks like more structure includes organized and tidy. They're more efficient. They're more detailed and meticulous, considered safe and reliable in the way in which they solve problems. They're perfecters. Those that are less structured are seen as adventurous and spontaneous, free from rules, fluid, flexible, unconventional, and they break the mold often. Most individuals fall on somewhere on the continuum, and as you can see from this bell curve, most of us fall directly in the middle. Most of you will be somewhere in that middle ground where you have an equal balance of these two, or maybe you slightly prefer more structure or slightly prefer less structure. That means you most likely fall somewhere in the center of this. We'll talk more about this as we move forward. Curtin's adaptation-innovation theory measures your preferred thinking style, this understanding or preferred problem-solving style. It's how much structure you like, and it's how you like going about solving problems. The preferred idea means that there is no right or wrong way of solving issues. It just means that we have different ways that we like to do things that really make more sense with our personalities and who we are. So everyone is creative and we all solve problems. Oftentimes, we associate creativity with this artistic side of things, thinking of people who come up with lots of solutions or individuals who can really think outside of the box. However, creativity, when we talk about it with Curtin's adaptation-innovation theory, is actually just related to the way in which we generate ideas to solve problems. All individuals are creative in how they do that. But how we prefer to be creative and solve problems can be very different from other individuals, including our colleagues, friends, and family, and those peers that you may be working with through this activity or this event that you're a part of. Let's think about this from the side of going on vacation. Some individuals are planners. They like structure. They like to know that everything is planned ahead of time. They make a packing list before they pack. They spend time thinking through what they're going to do on their entire trip. They book things. They make a plan. They make an agenda. This is what these individuals look like on vacation. Those individuals tend to fall on our more adaptive side of things. You have the other side of things as well. The more innovative individuals may be running last minute. They may be throwing things in a bag last minute and not really planning what to pack. They may be getting to the airport or then arriving at their destination to only figure out what they want to do each day as they're there. They want to experience the environment in a very different way, to have things spontaneously arise and to schedule those. Both of these trips and both of attending these trips with different individuals will result in an amazing experience for you, but they're different experiences. And already, as we're talking about this vacation, you may see or understand how if you're someone who prefers to plan, you may be frustrated traveling with someone who's a last minute planner. If you're somebody who's the last minute planner, who may be a little more innovative, you may be very frustrated with the amount of structure that someone puts on you. That is what occurs when we work with individuals who are different than us. It doesn't make either way wrong of planning a vacation. Again, both will be very enjoyable vacations. However, the planning process and the structure wanted and needed by individuals looks very different based on these problem-solving styles that we have and how we approach them. So, what is style not related to? We talked a little bit about what your problem-solving style is. There's no better or worse problem-solving style, and that we all have a different one. But style is very specifically how you prefer to go about doing things. It's not how clever you are, your IQ, or how intelligent you may be. It is not related to how you do in school or where your grades may fall. It is not related to your seniority or experience, to your level in which you may fall within this group, within your school, the grade in which you're in. It is completely separate from that. It's separate from where you come from. We have data on individuals from all around the world, and problem-solving style is consistent throughout all different areas of having individuals who fall on different sides of the spectrum. It is not related to your skills or qualifications. You can learn different things that allow you to do or solve problems in different ways. However, how you truly prefer to solve problems will always stay the same. And it is also not related to your motivation. At times, we may be more motivated to solve problems in different ways, but how you go about doing them does not change based upon that motivation. Your style is perfect for you, and no style is better than one another, regardless of where you fall on that continuum. So let's talk a little bit more about what this might look like so we can help to figure out where each of you may fall on the continuum. It's important to remember that as individuals who are more adaptive or more innovative, that we perceive ourselves in one area while others perceive you differently. Those that are more adaptive are often perceived as or described by those that are more innovative as sound, conforming, safe, predictable, inflexible, someone who really likes structure, and someone who really needs consensus. They like when others agree with them. And that's something that can be seen from their peers working with them. Adapters see themselves as much more efficient, more predictable, much more dependable, more consistent in the work that they do, much more trustworthy, and more supportive of others. Those that are more innovative are often perceived or described by those that are more adaptive as glamorous, exciting, but often very impractical and risky in the way in which they approach problem-solving style or problem-solving. They can be seen as very abrasive in the way in which they come across to others. They see structure as restrictive, and they are very unconcerned about consensus or others agreeing with them. Innovators often describe themselves as more individualistic in the way in which they prefer to work, more open or willing to take a chance. They see themselves as having a greater sense of humor. They also see themselves as more impatient or ability to have patience. And they have many ideas and many ideas that will be shared. This different characteristics are what put individuals on the opposite sides of the scale. Again, remember when you're thinking about how do individuals describe me and how would I describe myself, the likelihood is that most of you will fall somewhere in the center of these two things, being slightly on one side over the other. So what is this problem-solving style made up of? It's made of three different major things. The first is how we define problems. What is the problem at hand that we are working to solve? Those that are more adaptive tend to define problems based upon what is agreed upon by others. So what is handed to them as the problem is what they see the problem as, and it's what they're working to generate solutions for. Innovators tend to reject the problem that is defined and redefine the problem at hand. So they may see an issue or a different problem than what has been stated as what exists as the underlying issue. When generating solutions, those that are more adaptive prefer to generate few but novel, creative, and relevant ideas. They have acceptable solutions and they aim to do things better. They're going to look at things that have previously been put in place, previous solutions, and work to tweak small things that will make sense, that will be practical, that can be applied, and applying them as a way of changing things slightly. Those that are innovators, while they tend to also want to throw the problem away, they like to make things different. They're less concerned with what has existed prior, and they want to start from the beginning. These innovators are going to generate a lot of different solutions, many of which may not be practical or actually usable within their solution. Generating solutions is one of the areas where those that are more adaptive and more innovative work really well together, because the more innovative may come up with these very outlandish, off the wall, out of the box ideas of making things different. And the adapters can take those ideas and make them into something that is more relevant and a more acceptable solution. This works very well when generating solutions, which Dr. Friedel, Kurt will talk about later. This also has to do with how you see rules in groups. Those that are more adaptive prefer to solve problems by using rules. They have guidelines. They like and seek agreement and consensus with others. These are your individuals who really like a handbook or outlines of rules that go together with how to go about solving or handling a problem. The more innovative are going to probably solve problems outside of the guidelines. They're looking for loopholes, and they're very less concerned with the response of others or really about agreed upon consensus when making decisions. So now we're going to do a poll. This poll is going to try to help discover where you may fall on this continuum. So the poll is now open. I'm going to show you kind of what this might look like. Before you answer the question, start to look at these pieces as kind of a guideline for where you might fall. Do you think you're a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5, or 6 in how you may fall on this continuum? And remember, most of you will most likely fall as a 3 or a 4, or many more will be in that 2 and 5 range. Very few of us tend to fall within the 6 or the 1 categories.
We also want to open the Q&A to see if you have any questions.
Yes. So while the poll is running, it looks like individuals are still chiming in. Give a little bit of time. If you have any questions pertaining to what's already been discussed today, please feel free to put those in the chat.
Just to continue what Dr. Bush has been sharing, the research shows that we are pretty good at assessing ourselves and determining if we are more adaptive or more innovative. Again, it's a continuum. We don't really put people in the boxes, but for the sake of simplicity, we're asking you to self-assess yourselves. Do you see yourself as strongly adaptive, moderately adaptive, mildly adaptive, or mildly innovative, moderately innovative, or strongly innovative? We would only know for sure if you were to complete the KAI to know your exact score. But this is a way to estimate yourself. You know yourself well and can make a pretty good estimate of that.
Right. And it seems that many of you were able to kind of make that judgment. We're almost up to 167%. So we'll leave it open to kind of reach that 70% mark, hopefully. And then we'll see what that looks like overall. It's like many of you are commenting in the chat where you see yourself kind of falling and finding others that are writing similar things as well that might have that piece. So go ahead and end the poll, but numbers look great. It looks like many of you, do you see yourselves as more strongly adaptive or moderately adaptive, or moderately innovative, or strongly innovative? You can kind of see those different pieces. So it'd be important when we're working in groups and understanding what those pieces look like. So I'm trying to get back so that I can see my slides. Okay. Okay. So part of this is that it's important to remember that regardless of where you felt you lied there, we all have different things that are great about us. And when we were going over some of those characteristics, there may have been things that felt to you as if it's what you would want to be referred to as, or maybe things that you have pride in how you feel about those things. However, every style has equal value, and every style is useful and beneficial in problem solving. There are no good nor bad styles or KAI results. In fact, most individuals find they really value where they fall because they know their own strengths compared to others and how they can work well with others. So remember that every style has strengths and weaknesses. There's a reason that we work together in solving problems, and it's so we can help to balance those out. What you need and what you like to do depends on the circumstance. So when we solve problems, different types of teams are needed when we work through those in order to come up with the best solutions. And you can help others that are different than you. You can help by working together on that. So what does this look like? It's important to remember that your style does not change. So when you look at these different colored eyes on these different animals, you can see that they're cute looks regardless of what color your eyes are. That's the same idea that all problem solving styles are great and they all are the best fit for you. Just like eye color, your preference is stable and it does not change. Your eye color will not change over time unless you're using colored contacts. Well, we can see that that could be something that is also used in problem solving. We'll talk about it as this idea of coping and coping behavior. We can use other styles. We can use other means to change our eye color. However, at the end of the day, when we remove those colored contacts or we remove those coping styles and behaviors, our preferences or our eye color is stable and it stays the same over time. You can change your appearance, but you cannot change your behavior. Your preference will never truly change. So what does this look like? Sometimes we need to do things differently from our preference. We may be people who prefer structure. Sometimes we have to work without structure. We have to be flexible. Some may prefer to do things with no structure. Sometimes we need structure. We need to follow guidelines. We need to work outside of our preferences. So we may see those individuals who are more adaptive need to function more innovatively and vice versa. Typically, this is very hard work and it will take an amount of stress on us. We want to minimize the stress for both you and the individuals you're working with. And we want to maximize our results by using individuals' natural preferences. We can do this by working together. But what happens when we have to function outside of our own preferred style is that we'll see that coping can take a lot of energy. So functioning in a way that is not preferred by us takes energy and it can cause stress. We will all have to function outside of our preferred nature at some point. However, when we're working with others, if we can minimize the amount of time and the amount of effort that is put in coping, we can all work together to all cope at different times. We can minimize and stay in this lower stress level and not end up at the top of this graphic that we see. When we ask one person to cope more consistently over time, it can take a lot of effort and a lot of time, and it would be very stressful for that individual. So we want to work to try to minimize that when working together. Let's look at what this looks like. It's important to remember that when you're working with different individuals, that all different individuals fall in different places in the continuum. And where you fall and how innovative or adaptive you are is more relevant based upon the other individuals that you're working with. Here, you can see that we have 4 individuals. Person A tends to fall on the more adaptive side. Person D falls on the more innovative side. Our 2 individuals, person B and person C, fall in the center and more moderately or mildly adaptive and innovative spaces. However, whether you are more innovative or more adaptive is based on the other individuals you're working with. So while person C may be more adaptive to person D, they're much more innovative person A, and that will be felt in the way in which you work. So who we typically work with and how we typically function when working with different individuals and teams can predict how innovative or how adaptive we feel during those times. So this is a case in which a team may fall more spread across the continuum. However, not all teams look like this. Some teams may look a little more like this, where instead of our person C falling a little more on the innovative side, they may fall a little bit closer to that person B and more centrally located on that mildly adaptive side. So here we can see that person D becomes a much higher outlier in case example 2 than they were in case example 1. This case example 3 shows us that we may have teams in which one individual becomes an outlier from everyone else on the team. So here you can see we have 3 individuals, person B, C, and D, who are much more innovative, and a person A who is much more adaptive. When working together, that stress is going to be felt more by person A than it will be by person B or C or D because of who else we're working with. On the opposite side of things, we may find that we work on a team where person D is our outlier and are more innovative, where person B, A, and C are going to fall more on the adaptive side. Let's take a poll, understand where you may more commonly feel that you fall. So when you're working on teams, do you feel that your teams more often look like case 1, case 2, case 3, or case 4?
Sarah,
Yes.
while we have the poll on, can you also just come a little closer? There is some disturbance. It's a little difficult to hear you. If you can
Okay.
come closer to the mic and be a little slow. Thank you.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So one thing to remember about these cases when we're looking at them is that oftentimes, depending on where we feel that we fall, we may feel that our teams fall more into those cases. So for instance, if you're someone who sees yourself as more innovative, you may feel like person D in case 4 more often. The same with someone who feels like they're much more adaptive, you may feel like person A in case 3 more often. Individuals who fall in the middle may find that they think more on the side of case 1 or case 2, as they don't feel some of those discrepancies of problem solving style as often. A question that kind of came up in the chat box was related to what problems does being strongly innovative cause? And Dr. Friedel, Kurt, is going to talk about that in a couple minutes when he talks about how working on different teams or in different realms can cause issues.
And can you also talk a little bit about why is it important for them to analyze this as they start, like just the self-awareness of their team, or can you just talk?
Yes. Yes. So again, as stated, it's important to remember that different team makeups, as I stated when I was talking about how we describe someone who's different than us differently than they would describe themselves, we describe those things in a way that often feel frustrating, right? So if we're someone who really prefers structure and we're, working with someone who throws rules out, who doesn't appreciate structure, who doesn't want structure, we may feel very, very frustrated in those moments because we're being asked to function without our preferred structure. And vice versa, the opposite side of things. If we're someone who doesn't like structure, we may find it very restrictive or limiting when we are asked to function outside using a lot of structure. So it is important for us to think about what this looks like on teams and identify who may fall on different scales, because we can identify when they're not trying to be difficult to work with, but rather functioning in their own preferred problem-solving style. And we can appreciate what they have to offer as opposed to being frustrated with how they're different. What we find is when we look at this, and I love that so many of you stated case example 1 as what you most commonly work with, because that means that most commonly you are working with individuals that tend to fall kind of evenly broken up on the spectrum, which means that you're recognizing that individuals fall in all different places, and most likely you're also appreciating that. So what Curtin's adaptation and innovation theory does for us is it gives us a language and an understanding of why these differences are not right or wrong, but really just beneficial in the way in which we function. I see a question here that says, if we are working in a more innovative way, I'm trying to get out of the poll so I can see this. Fell behind on my chat and it won't let me scroll up. Can anyone see that question in the chat?
Yeah, if we are working in a more innovative way at the time, if we don't find a way to represent our solution as a working model, so what can we do about that at that time?
Yeah, so I think that it's important that we reflect and kind of understand what that looks like. So if you find that you're working and your group is always working in a more innovative way, and you have individuals that are more adaptive in your group, what you're going to want to do is really rely on that individual who's more adaptive to bring in the adaptive perspective. If you find yourself working in a more innovative way with more innovative individuals consistently over time, and you're finding that you need something different in your solution generation, you're going to want to look for a new team member that can help bring in those more adaptive mindset in order to kind of bring you down to those pieces. But Dr. Friedel, who is actually I'm going to turn things over to now, is going to talk a little bit more about how we can work in teams on this solution generation process.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm seeing lots of questions here about what it means to work with someone more adaptive and someone who's more innovative. And I really like what Dr. Bush had put together on the first slide of us looking at a cylinder and someone seeing I think it was a blue circle versus an orange square. And that's really what it is like working with adapters and innovators, because one sees a blue circle and one sees an orange square, and we need each other to see the whole entire object because we each see it with our own perspective, and we don't see the entire perspective or the truth without working with each other. And so if we're all adaptive, we only see part of it. If we're all innovative, we only see part of it. And we need each other in working with these complex problems that you're solving here in your groups to get the whole picture, to see everything and do the best job. And that requires mutual respect, recognizing they see things that you don't see, and they see things, you see things that they don't see. So let me share my screen here. Get situated. So when we solve problems, and there's more than one of us solving a problem together, we have gaps. And we can have a gap between two people, meaning one's more adaptive and one's more innovative. And that's what we were talking about with your teams. We can have a gap between the person and a group. And that's when you start seeing one person's more innovative and those last two cases and where the group is more adaptive or vice versa, the person's more innovative and the group is more adaptive. And so you have what some might say is an outsider status. We don't think like the rest of the group is thinking. We have a gap between two teams, meaning one group on average is more adaptive while the other group on average is more innovative. And the group and a person can have a gap with problem A, meaning problem A requires adaptation and we're more innovative, or problem A requires innovation and we're more adaptive. So we're always navigating these gaps between each other and the problem at hand. We want to talk a little bit more about problem A and problem B. Every time two people come together to solve a problem, we have problem A, which is a task at hand. That's a shared problem, the task or solution you're developing right now as a team. And problem B, most simply defined, is all distractions from problem A. And there's lots of reasons for problem Bs. We'll get into that in a little bit on the next slide. But in a general rule, we seek to focus on problem A and resolve problem Bs. Oftentimes, our diversity of thought gets in the way of us being able to focus on problem A. If we have two innovators, we get along well together, and we might be able to focus on problem A well, but we're not seeing the whole picture, which is why we need more adaptation. Same way we might have two adapters that get along well because we think alike. But if we have an innovator in the room, that may cause a problem B. So our diversity of thought contributes to problem Bs, and that creates stress, as Dr. Bush was saying with stress and coping behavior. If the reward of solving problem A is greater than the stress of our diversities and working together, we tend to be successful in solving problem A. And so we want to be motivated and focused on the reward and how each person gets rewarded for solving problem A. If the stress of our diversities gets in the way and the stress is greater than the reward of working together, we fall apart as a team and don't solve problem A well. So there are lots of contributors to problem Bs: lack of resources, differences in priorities or in values, miscommunications of expectations, which happens often in groups. We need to communicate clearly and well. We can have a gap in motivation. Some of us are more motivated to complete the project than others. We can have a gap in ability, meaning certain things we might be more knowledgeable about with different problems. And that can be domain specific. We each have different expertise and knowledge. And we can also have a gap in problem solving style, meaning I want to adapt and you want to innovate, or you want to adapt and I want to innovate. And that creates a disagreement, not because of our gender or age or status in the team or experience, just because we think differently. One wants to adapt and one wants to innovate. And that's what we're talking about here today. And so we're going to transition a little bit to talk about the problem-solving process and where you're at in the problem-solving process. Last week, we focused on problem identification. How do you know you're solving the right problem? assuming you've went through those steps, we talked about some of those tools you can use for improving your problem identification, such as the fishbone diagram and the why 5 questions. Then we can move to solution generation, which leads to evaluating solutions to determine you have the best solution, and solution execution. So let's start with talking about how to improve solution generation. The most common way to generate solutions is what we call brainstorming. And brainstorming is very common. Most people don't recognize that there are 6 steps to brainstorming. We just tend to go into brainstorming mode and start putting ideas out there, but there is a process for brainstorming. And it begins with selecting a group leader to write out all the ideas that are coming up on a flip chart or whiteboard, piece of paper, whatever you have with you. Step 2 is taking turns giving ideas. All ideas are recorded, and if someone wants to pass because they don't have an idea, that's perfectly okay, but we take turns sharing ideas until we go to step 3, 2 members pass in a row, and at that point we can say anyone can call out an idea. All right, so we go into popcorn mode, as we call it. And popcorn mode is when anyone can pop out an idea without being called on or waiting on a turn. And very important, number 5, no evaluation of ideas are permitted till the end. We want to just put all the ideas out there, ideas that are better, making things more efficient, ideas that are different, looking at something else, and evaluation happens later. And once the leader who's writing all the ideas on the board or flip chart sees that we're ready, we can go through the process of eliminating ideas. The more innovative tend to do well in brainstorming. They have more ideas naturally. That doesn't mean more adaptive individuals can't have more ideas. If we invite the more adaptive individuals to have more ideas, they will have more ideas. So, but to clarify, naturally, we do see the more innovative perhaps having a leg up and coming up with a lot of ideas, or more ideas than the more adaptive. The more adaptive are more cautious with their ideas. They think through them a little bit more, and also have a little bit more detail associated with their ideas. So just to end on this slide, that we can have conflict sometimes with each step of the process in solution generation here, and how we generate ideas can be a problem, but using a technique like this where everyone works together can help prevent the conflict in generating ideas. The next tool I'm going to share is called a selection matrix for evaluating solutions. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take your solution after you've developed a little bit, and you'll have a number of solutions, and each solution will have its own matrix. And you will design some criteria on how to best evaluate your solutions. So it could be based off available resources. These are just ideas to have there. You can add whatever criteria you want. Ease to implement a positive image, profitability, creating value, follows mission of your organization. These are all just ideas. And so every member would rate the solutions that you want to evaluate. And once you've done that for a number of solutions, you can score these up 1 to 10. And the decision is made on the best solution, on the solution that gets the most points. When we look at the differences between the more adaptive and the more innovative with the selection matrix, the more adaptive will have focus more internally with criteria that make things more efficient. The more innovative will have more focus on external criteria that is looking outward into the environment. Both criteria are important. You'll want a balance of both. If you know your team leans more innovative or more adaptive, you may want to use some coping behavior, as Dr. Bush was talking about, to think about what are some internal criteria we should consider and what are some external criteria to consider. The more adaptive may have a leg up here because they have a little bit more focus on the practical and the detail. And that will be coming in handy when using a good solution evaluation tool. Next, going into solution implementation, a great tool for solution implementation or execution is a force field analysis. And so once you've evaluated a solution and you know which solution you want to go forward with, you can start developing a force field analysis on all the ideas that are against the idea and for the idea. And this is for our organization who wants to have an officer retreat. They're having some difficulties in their organization. And there are forces going down against the idea and forces going up for the idea. And the size of the arrow demonstrates the strength of that force. So for example, budgeting for materials, supplies, and activities against the idea, perhaps we don't have the budget or the funding to hold an officer retreat. That's a larger force than the fact that Sam doesn't like retreats. All right, same thing on the bottom. A force going for the idea of having an officer retreat that's very large here, getting the officers to get to know each other and work together as a team. That is a larger force, and we need to identify goals for this year for this particular group. And so force field analysis is a great way to think through all the possible things that could go wrong with your solution as you execute or implement. The more adaptive here will focus again on the details, the rules, and we'll focus on group conformity and what the group believes could be an issue for the idea. The more innovative will go again outward, looking at external forces. The more adaptive will also look at the efficiencies and tweaking of things for or against the idea, where the more innovative will focus more on the external and revolutionary thoughts of the ideas. All right. So let's do one last poll. Who is better at solution implementation with the force field analysis? The more innovative, the more adaptive, or neither is worse or better? Okay, while we're doing the poll, we can look to see if there's any questions.
The only recent questions were around the solution or the final submission for phase 1, but we can take that at the end of the session.
And these are just some of the tools available for.
The poll hasn't come up
uh,
on the screen if we have released that. Khushbu.
These are
So-
just some of the tools available for solution generation, evaluation, implementation. If you search it on the internet for other tools, there are other tools available as well. as opposed to the previous polls where there was no right or wrong answer. This poll has a right or wrong answer.
Hey, have we released the poll? I'm getting pings that says I'm not able to get the poll.
Yes, we have already released it.
Okay,
We have got 68% participation.
okay, because I don't see it popped up on my screen as well, and I'm seeing some comments in the.
think
I
it
can
just
see it.
might be
It's
loading,
working.
yeah. Let's give it a minute. Yeah.
It's important when we discuss adaptation innovation, we're talking about a style. And then we each have a preferred style towards one or the other. Many times when we hear the word innovation, we're talking about in popular press or in popular conversation, the word innovation means a new technique or something novel or a new way to implement things. But here today, we've been talking about adaptation and innovation as a style, and that neither is better than the other. It's not related to intelligence or motivations or values that we've been talking about. It's just a different way of preferring to think. And so some of us are more adaptive, some of us are more innovative. That doesn't make either of us better than the other. It's just we're just different. And so innovative individuals, here as we're defining it, as Dr. Bush was sharing, tend to be more revolutionary in thought, unstructured in their thinking, and the more adaptive tend to be more evolutionary in their thought, or preferring incremental change and more structured in their thinking. We can have innovative new and adaptive new. We can have innovative technology and adaptive technology. I see we're past 70% with the poll, and the correct answer here is C. Neither is better or worse in solution implementation. We each are equally capable of implementing solutions, the more adaptive and the more innovative, and we're best effective when we're working together. So 25% of you got this poll right. Very good. So as we wrap this up, some of us are more adaptive and some of us are more innovative. We believe that this is set early in life as part of your personality. It's part of who you are. There's no better style. Your preferred way of solving problems is perfect for you. And there's no ideal score in general. Given a particular problem at hand, the more adaptive might have some advantages, but also have disadvantages. In the same way, the more innovative have some advantages and disadvantages. But in general, no one's better than the other. And it's important for team members to know the cognitive diversity of your team. So if you're working on a complex problem like this assisted technology for your group, if something requires more structured thinking, more adaptation, more detail, more efficiency, look to your friend and team member, the more adaptive, for help. If you're looking for more unstructured thinking because of what you're working on, something a little bit more outside the box, more radical, less structured thinking, look to your friend, the more innovative team member that you're working with. Successful teams resolve problem Bs to improve the work on problem A. You want laser focus on problem A, and don't let your differences get in the way of working together as a team. That's how you do well, successfully solving your problem and generating great solutions. And there are 3 tools here to ensure that you have identified the correct solution. It's not just about generating solutions and picking one. It's important not to pick the solution just because one member said it and that person on your team is popular or they're pushing for an idea. You need to have a safe space for everyone to share ideas. And as a group, weigh the merit of the idea based off how well the idea is formed and put together, and not who came up with the idea. And that helps ensure success of generating good ideas, evaluating them, and coming to implementation for your team and this project. So with that, we say thank you, and we'll open this up for questions and announcements.
Okay, then. So, thank you, Curtis and Sarah. It was really inspiring hearing from you today. And we have the chat for questions. And I'm sure everyone is really excited to work and develop the solutions for the assistive technology theme this year. Before we end, I just also want to take our participants through the process of uploading your submissions. The portal has opened up today, and all of you can visit the website and submit your applications there. I'll just show you how to do that. And don't worry, we're accepting responses from today till August 15th. So you don't have to feel the rush to just submit it today or anytime soon. You have until August 15th. So I'll just share my screen and show you how you guys can upload it on our website. So you can all visit the innovationstory.com. It's over here. Just type the innovationstory.com into your browser. Over here on the top, on the first tab, you'll see Solve for Society. Just click on that. Then over here, the first thing that opens up are your phase submissions. You can just click this yellow button here. And then it'll open up the form where you can upload your team video and ideation document. So you can just fill out all the details that you need, and then you can upload this here. Again, this is open until August 15th, so you don't have to upload it just yet. You can take your time. I'll just show it one last time. So you open up to the innovationstory.com and you click on Solve for Society up here. And
Anusha, please share the website link in the chat so that it is there with all.
Yeah. I'll also share the Solve for Society page, and then you can just click on phase 1 submissions and it'll open up the link of the form. And I'll just share the website link in the chat. And thank you, Dr. Curtis and Dr. Sarah, for your valuable insights. And I'm thanking all the participants for attending. And we look forward to receiving your amazing submissions for phase 1. And I hope this session has given you a further picture and assistance for ideas. And good luck to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. And wishing everybody all the best. If there are any questions, we are happy to take them. We have 15 more days. I hope you have some problem identified already and are working on the solution.
Also, one more thing I want to add is in our email, on our email ID solveforsociety.com, we have received ideas. So I kindly request all the participants to please go on the website and submit the ideas. Please don't personally email us. We have the submit tab open. You can please go to the tab and please submit it over there and not send this to us personally in the email ID.
And it needs to be a full submission, right? The submission 1, as we have explained in the previous sessions, need to be 2-part. One is a video, which is 3 to 5 minute video, and one ideation document, which is 1 to 3 pages, minimum 1 to maximum 3-page document explaining what you're going to do. We will share a detailed email. It's also there in the form that Anushka was just showing about what is the length of the video, what is the size of the video, what can you cover in the video. So all of those details we will share by email as well. We will share it on our WhatsApp group, and we will also include it as part of the submission form. So you can have your time to just go through it. In case there are still more questions, happy to answer by email. But please don't, as Khushbu said, email us the actual submissions. Ensure you're uploading it, because that's the only way we can consider it. Hope that makes sense. Perfect. I think we don't have a lot of questions. Yes, I just want to reiterate because I did get repeated questions around what do we have to make. So in the first phase, you don't really have to make any app or build a prototype or a model. In the first phase, you just have to submit an idea of what you think will work. So you just need to explain the problem that you want to solve and what is the proposed solution to the problem, right? How do you think the problem will work? It should not really require any budget or prototyping. It should basically be a solution. That is what we are calling an ideation document and a video, right? So ensure you kind of capture that and work accordingly. Awesome. Yeah. If you are clear, then I think we can wrap up early today. Thank you all so much and wishing everybody all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are a couple of questions I can answer. Those who want to leave can leave. If you have all your questions answered, you can leave. But give us an example of what type of problem should we be talking about. So as we explained in the very first session, right, the theme for Solve for Society this year is assistive technology. So think about what are some of the typical challenges faced by the disabled community around us. Somebody who is handicapped with respect to either somebody who's in a wheelchair or somebody who has a hearing disability or a speech impediment. What are some of the problems that they might be facing in day-to-day lives? We will share more suggestions of what the solutions can be on our Instagram, or what solutions are really out there in the world that people have worked on and that have helped the disabled community immensely. We will share some examples of that as well, just as to act as an inspiration. If you haven't already, I will also urge you to check out the first session we had in this series, which is what is assistive technology. I think it was one of the a really great talk, and there were some really great ideas about what are some of the solutions out there in the market which help the community a lot, and what are some areas that you should think about already. So again, and you can always Google about it. That there are enough ideas, inspiration, solutions around it. But think about why do we need to install a wheelchair ramp, right? If somebody needs to travel everywhere in a wheelchair, and we always complain that India is not really disabled friendly because we don't really have wheelchair accessibility everywhere. Can you actually design a wheelchair which can climb stairs? There is no limit to innovation, right? So don't feel blocked in what you're really solutioning, as long as the solution is practical, something that you can develop on your own, and something that you think works. So the wheelchair was just a simple problem. It's just a way of how you think about the solution, right? So but really just look around, talk to people around you, and you should be able to get some of the basic problem statements. In the first session, Pranav was talking about just overall OCR, just object recognition text, or just voice to text activation, so that that can help the visually impaired. There are so many solutions that have already been built around it, but again, there can always be areas which are not getting tapped. So talk to people, research online, and you should be able to get a good list of what you can help in. And Curtis, Sarah, if you have any more ideas, happy to. So for the ones who couldn't attend the first and second sessions, the sessions have been uploaded on YouTube. The links for the sessions are also embedded on our website. So the same website that Anushka showed, www.theinnovationstory.com. I can share the link again, but you can go on our website, and under the Solve for Society page, you will have the links to the YouTube videos that cover the first and the second session. So you should be able to get that. And we'll upload the today's session link there as well. So in the PDF, what content we want to give, we have mentioned in the descriptions. We also covered it in the first session. So in the PDF, we actually want you to give a detailed problem statement, your proposed solution, and a more theory, right? A more descriptive description of how your solution is going to be. So it can include schematics, it can include drawings, diagrams, in any way that you want to describe how you want to possibly build the solution.
I mean, also for the YouTube videos or the recordings, I'm just putting the link in the chat so you can access it from there.
Perfect. We will not be evaluating any project suggestions here because that's not what this session is for. But we hope you pick a good solution, and we are really looking forward to hearing from all, just going through all the solutions from you guys. So all the best there. Awesome. I think we can pause.